He said he doesn't want to add a camera. He took a nap and his mascara isn't looking
There'll
too
be
great.
no camera tonight. I look like Logan on Sunday after he woke up.
Yeah, that was a really bad Saturday night. Austin was there to take care of me.
Thank God.
I also do blame Los, which I found out the next day that he gave me a Hennessy shot to add on to the other 3 shots I took before that. And along
What about the rest of the stuff you drank? Is that all his fault too?
There's a lot going on.
There was a lot of things going on.
Hey guys, it's Terrence Nan. You're listening to Hear the Spirit, presented by No Game Day. Go Noles.
Hey, what's up? This is Peter Ward, aka E-Dub, in the house. We're listening to Hear the Spirit, presented by No Game Day. Go Live, go Noles.
Hi, this is Charlie Ward, and you're listening to Hear the Spirit. Go Noles.
This is Terrell Buckley. You're listening to Hear the Spirit, presented by No Game Day. No Bloody.
But perhaps better known as the greatest corner to ever step on a football field, Deion Primetime Sanders.
Great Deion Sanders, my brother. What's going on, man? I could wake up to that greeting every day, man. That was awesome.
Hello, Noles fans. This is former Seminole Derek Brooks, and you're listening to Hear the Spirit, presented to you by No Game Day.
James Wilder Jr. What's going on, James?
Thanks for having me on. SSOD, Florida State or Die, and go Noles.
William Bar None Floyd.
Gentlemen, what's up?
What is happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Hear the Spirit, presented to you by No Game Day. We are here on this wonderful Thursday evening, April 15th. A spring game has actually happened in Doak Campbell Stadium. No hurricane went through. We survived it. Me, Dustin, and Austin were in attendance along with Los, although I don't think he'll be with us this evening. We'll be recapping the spring game. Also, we will be going through a little bit of recruiting because we were also around Nico, Marcio, and Travis Hunter and others around the Unconquered statue while we were leaving the spring game on Saturday. So a lot of recruiting to go through. Florida State announces the Apex program that we'll jump into. And then lastly, football related, we're going to run into some of these new renderings for the football only facility. They look great, look awesome. And then speaking of awesome, Austin's here with us. He's going to give us the latest with a 5-star recruit. A wild day for him on Thursday. We'll see what's going on there, the drama on the basketball side of things.
I really don't want to talk about it, but I feel like I have to.
You think you have to. But yeah, that's it. Let me introduce my 2 co-hosts with me this evening. Austin Veazey, our lead basketball writer, and down at the bottom, lead writer and editor. I got to put in here also recruiting insider now, right? You got to add that, I think, eventually, Dustin.
Should be like elite recruiting insider or something like that.
He's also got to add a camera at some point.
Put some respect on it.
He said he doesn't want to add a camera. He took a nap and his mascara isn't looking
There'll
too
be
great.
no camera tonight. I look like Logan on Sunday after he woke up.
Yeah, that was a really bad Saturday night. Austin was there to take care of me.
Thank God.
I also do blame Los, which I found out the next day that he gave me a Hennessy shot to add on to the other 3 shots I took before that. And along
What about the rest of the stuff you drank? Is that all his fault too?
There's a lot going on.
There was a lot of things going on, but overall a really fun weekend for us. We got to meet a lot of you guys that listened to us. I got to meet you in person, shake your hands. It was really a phenomenal experience. So shout out to everyone that we got to meet at the game and tailgating before. It's always great to see you guys in person. We definitely appreciate y'all listening in. As always, you can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify. Hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to this on. We definitely appreciate if you rate us 5 stars on iTunes and leave a review before you get done listening. It definitely helps a lot. Gain some new FSU listeners. But now that that's all over with, we got a lot to jump into, guys. On Saturday, Florida State held its spring scrimmage or spring game, but mix of both, practically another spring scrimmage. But actually got to be in the stands with a lot of fans. Like I said, Austin and Dustin were sitting with me. We enjoyed a good time up there in the Champions Club and got to hang out. Dustin was doing some live tweeting. Shout out to D-Lou for...
I did all of the live tweeting.
He did all the live tweeting, but you also did have 6 hot dogs.
It was like 3. Bro, it's free. It's free food.
It's not just those 3 hot dogs. It was 3 hot dogs. It was 2 slices of pizza.
It was 1 slice of pizza.
2 bags of
You
chips.
obviously weren't paying attention.
Why would I pay attention to what you're eating?
I don't know, but you're trying to name shit off now.
Okay, one slice of pizza either way.
It was terrible too, man. It was
lot
like
of
gas
ketchup.
station pizza. They
Yeah.
gotta do some upgrades up there.
That was a spring game. Usually you have a little Four Rivers action, you know what I'm saying? But I think it was a spring game kind of blah gas station food. It wasn't phenomenal, but it seems like the hot dogs were pretty good, D'Lo.
They're all right. I had to get prepared, after a few adult beverages before the game and after the game. So I just had to prepare my body for what was to come.
I don't blame you. Well, let's jump into the spring game. Actually, the rain dialed off around 3:40, 3:30. So it ended up clearing out a good ways before we got into the stadium. And so a pretty good amount of people there for the weather and, COVID-19 going on and all that jazz. And it being a spring game, I thought there was a good amount of people. And it was nice to see some familiar faces too. Before we were going into the stadium, we were able to see a few of the recruits huddled around the Unconquered statue. And then we'll get to it afterwards. They were hanging out after the game, but going to the spring game, what's y'all's initial reactions from that? Anything that stood out to you guys? I think really nothing was really crazy spectacular. And, Milton had a pretty impressive day. I thought Jordan Travis looked smooth. Two freshmen, McLean, Burrell, the wide receiver unit looked well, along with the defense. Jermaine Johnson looks like he's on a different level. But what is y'all's first indications of what you take off of Mike Norvell's first spring game, in quote, Tallahassee?
Yeah, I don't really know what you mean when you say that you didn't really see anything spectacular out there because, we were at those two spring scrimmages and Mackenzie Milton, he had a couple rough days when we were out there watching. And on Saturday, it was a complete turnaround. Like he was out there, he looked extremely comfortable putting the ball in the air. He looked comfortable moving around in the pocket with the knee. And he was actually connecting on some pretty tough throws, putting perfect ball placement on a couple passes to Burrell and also Malik McLean. So I was definitely excited to see him kind of take those steps forward since the last time we had seen him on the field about 2 weeks ago. And then, Malik McLean as well. Like that dude, he was the star of the wide receivers out there on Saturday, made a couple big plays, had that touchdown, had the, the catch in traffic over a DB. And he looked really good. He looks primed to play a big role for Florida State on that offense in the fall because, I don't know, they're struggling with consistency out wide right now. And hopefully it can get better this summer whenever Dustin Hill and Andrew Parchment both get to Tallahassee.
Yeah, I was going to say McLean, man. We got to see him, D-Lou, while we were at both of those spring scrimmages, and we keep repeating it, but that guy was on the field 95% of the snaps throughout the whole couple of days that we got to see him.
Now we know why.
Yeah, now we know absolutely why, and it's great to see a young cat getting in there, focused in, dialed in, and then also you look at Burrell, who also made a really great catch, a phenomenal throw by Mackenzie Milton. I think that was one of his best ones of the day, fitting it right in between two defenders straight down the line. It was gorgeous throw, but Burrell brought it in too. So this wasn't too much of a surprise to see these two cats out there impress. I think a lot of people who weren't at the spring scrimmages really got to see, the shape of these guys, how well they came in, Coach Storms, and how well they're being developed and putting on muscle. They don't look like true freshmen. They put in work, they focused in during early enrollee time, and they look like they're second year, third year guys compared to even the wide receivers, the veteran guys.
Yeah, they looked really good out there. Like you said, watching Josh Burrell run routes, that guy looks like he's been in a college program for 3 years already. Like he's really smooth with his route running. And then, Malik McLean, he just kind of has brought that big play factor. And I'm going to be really excited to see if he can just, continue that ascension that he's on at the moment, because it just felt like he got better throughout the entire spring. And, the spring game, his performance, it was kind of like the climax of that performance. And now he's got another, 4, nearly 5 months until he steps into a real college game against Notre Dame. And he's just got even more time to keep improving, keep building chemistry with the quarterbacks. And right now it looks like Florida State's got a really good one in him, and he's going to contribute very early in his career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that catch by Burrell was pretty impressive, I gotta say. I mean, yeah, McLean, that was off to the side there, and Akeem Dent was on him with some good coverage there too by Akeem Dent. It's good to see Akeem Dent. We'll get to defense in a second, but good to see Akeem Dent playing pretty well too. Looked like he was healthy and back at it. Because we didn't get to see him compete in the second scrimmage, but not due to health reasons. Going back to still with the offense too, let's talk Jordan Travis. I thought he made some plays, a big one too, where he had to run out of the pockets, rolled out to his right, and found Cameron McDonald, tight end Cameron McDonald, down the field. You know, those kind of plays they're very risky to make, yes, but it was good to see that still Jordan Travis was still trying to keep his eyes down the field and maybe find a wide open target, and he was able to do that with veteran tight end Cameron McDonald. But yeah, any thoughts, D-Lou, on how Jordan Travis played his game on Saturday?
I mean, yeah, that play you're talking about, at least he made the play. He threw it back. It was a bad throw, or it was what people would call a bad throw, throwing back across your body into traffic. But a year ago, I don't think he would have really had any chance to make that play. So for him to make it just shows kind of the improvements that he's been taking. And, we've heard the coaching staff, Mike Norvell, Kenny Dillingham, they've kind of talked about that progression that he's made this offseason, finally being fully healthy and just consistently being out there at practices and working. And you can tell, like, his accuracy has taken some steps forward. Reading the defenses has taken improvements. Maybe he still tucks it down and runs it a little bit more often than he should. But at the same time, like, that's part of his game, and that's a reason why he's successful. So, it's going to be a real quarterback battle, I believe, whenever we get to the fall between him and Mackenzie Milton. Jordan Travis has some very impressive skills, and we're just going to have to see if that's going to be enough to, beat out a guy who's coming back from a serious leg injury and is still getting into the system, getting his chemistry down with the playmakers in Tallahassee. So I think it's going to be a really fun August, I think, between those two. Whenever the talent's competing, the cream rises to the top, and I think that's what we're going to see.
Mm-hmm. I think just from Saturday too, looking at this quarterback now, I think it really is solidified as a true competition, because whenever we were at the two scrimmages, Dustin, Mackenzie Milton had a very rough time. These passes weren't being made during these spring scrimmages. And I think a lot of people watching it on TV for the first time and seeing Milton play maybe are thinking, oh, this is what he's been doing since he's arrived at FSU. This is just not even a battle. It's Milton day one, no matter what. But, Jordan Travis was levels ahead of Mackenzie Milton in these spring scrimmages. But when we head into the spring game, whenever the lights and quote are on the field and Bobby Bowden field, Milton shows out, and that's something I was predicting. This is a kind of guy that does better when pressure's on him. It was just like Jameis was. When there wasn't a lot of people watching, there'd be a lot of mistakes he'd make, and it wasn't phenomenal. But whenever it came down to big time games, maybe not Oregon or say, but when it comes down to big games, these kind of guys do better with more pressure on them. And I think this is going to play a big factor on the progression of Jordan Travis, having Milton there in that film room, there in practices, making reads, and Jordan Travis being like, oh, this is what I should be doing. This is what Milton's really good at. Maybe I should try to watch him and see a little bit of his game. I think this is this is exactly what Mike Norvell wants. He wants this quarterback room to develop, and Milton being in there as a veteran is key for Jordan Travis's progression as a successful quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. I feel like we've kind of said that, since Mackenzie Milton kind of came in, we expected him to raise the floor of this quarterback room, because he's proven himself to be an elite quarterback in college football. He's had a lot of success at UCF, and, that's no mistake. I think coming into Florida State and, being able to show some of the other guys his work ethic and like you said, like his work in the film room, how he carries himself on the practice field, that can only help everybody else, because this was a guy, who was a Heisman contender back in 2017 or 2018 before that injury. And yeah, I mean, it just helps the rest of the guys to see that and to be able to model themselves after a player of that caliber.
Anything else to take away from the offense on Saturday? I was looking at the running back unit. I was really excited to watch Trayshawn Ward, which he had a few nice runs during the day. Anybody really stand out to you at running back? I know we were talking about it in the production meeting, Dustin. DJ Williams running over Gainer. That's just football. Plays like that happen all the time, but I know that was spread all over Twitter the next day.
Yeah, I mean, I thought everybody kind of showed a couple flashes. Deshaun Corbin, he made a couple good plays, not only with runs, but also, catching it out of the backfield whenever Jordan Travis checked down. Lawrence Toafili, he had a couple nice plays on the outside where he was able to break some arm tackles and get a first down. Treshaun Ward, he continued to be impressive. Maybe not as impressive as he was during those spring scrimmages when we were out there because he got a little bit less time, it felt like. But, whenever he touches the ball, you're kind of expecting him to be a powerful runner, break some tackles, and make a play. And then, like you said, Logan, I mean, DJ Williams, I don't think he did too much during the scrimmage, but I think running over Amari Gainer is enough. And Keyshawn Helton as well. Not Keyshawn Helton, Corey Wren as well. My bad.
He practically should be at running back, Keyshawn Helton, with how many speed handoffs they have to him. Yeah, no, I'm trying to look at the offensive line. We had, I think, Cameron McDonald by far had the big day. Austin White had a touchdown, if I can remember correctly. I believe near the end of the day. But yeah, Cameron McDonald by far the tight end unit. Offensive line, I think, was still.
I mean, they're not healthy. It's hard to judge.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention.
Taylor's out. Brady Scott missed a scrimmage. Thomas Schrader is still out. I believe Zane Herring was out as well. So,
and also Babion I know wasn't fully healthy during the spring either.
Yeah. So, they just haven't been fully healthy all spring. They've kind of had at least on the second unit, they just had like a makeshift group of guys, and there were some walk-ons getting there and getting time as well. So it's kind of hard to judge their performance. And really, I was just paying attention. I was trying to look at guys, individually rather than the unit. So I thought Maurice Smith, he had a pretty solid day in there at center. Robert Scott, I mean, those battles with Jermaine Johnson out on the edge. Yeah, he lost a couple, but he won some as well. And I mean, that's big for a redshirt freshman, moving into his second season as a starter at that right tackle spot. And, really you just want to see some improvement there at guard. I know that play was floating around whenever Fabian Lovett, beat Dante Lucas pretty bad on, I believe it was a passing play or whatever. So, you just want to see those guys continue to stay healthy, continue to improve. I believe in what Alex Atkins is doing out there. Whenever we've gotten the chance to watch him, like it feels like he has complete control of that offensive line, and they all kind of look up to him. So I'm confident as long as I can get back to fully healthy in August. It's really going to depend on DLT because I think he's the best offensive lineman right now on the roster. So his rehab over the next couple months and being a full go in fall camp is going to be extremely important.
Let's jump into some defense real quick. Jermaine Johnson had a pretty impressive day. It seemed like he was after both quarterbacks with Milton and also Jordan Travis, but it looked like Jermaine Johnson was on a different level there for the DNs. Kevin Knowles also had a great day at defensive back, and like you were just talking about, Fabian Lovett had a pretty impressive day there in the trenches on the defensive line.
Yeah, and I mean, are we surprised by Jermaine Johnson? Because coming into Florida State, this team has lacked a consistent pass rushing threat off the edge for the past couple of years. In 2020, we thought that would be J-Rob and Kando, obviously, and that didn't happen for a plethora of reasons. But with Johnson coming in here, this is a guy who is a bona fide pass rusher. He'd proven it in his last stop at Georgia. And, I think being at Florida State now, where he's going to get to play more of an every down role rather than just a pass rushing specialist role, like that's just going to help him break out even more. And I mean, we saw it. I talked about those battles with him and Robert Scott. There were a couple times where he had, I want to say it was the first or second play of the scrimmage. He got back there, got a sack. He had another sack later on. I remember, I think it was Travis rolling out to his right in the pocket, and Jermaine Johnson was like right on his back, even though Travis got the throwaway. Like, I think Austin was sitting next to me, and we were like, dude, he's fast, like, for a defensive end. So I'm really excited for him. And yeah, Kevin Knowles, he got an interception on Tate Rodemaker. Norvell wasn't too happy about that. He had a couple other pass breaks as well. So to see an early enrollee shining like that, just like some of those wide receivers we talked about, I mean, that's good for Florida State.
Taking full advantage of the opportunities, getting there early on campus is huge. And this is what a lot of these cats have done, both offensively and defensively. But Kevin Knowles looked good. That was kind of a surprise. We saw little flashes, D'Lo, at some of the scrimmages that we were at, but at to show up like that on the spring game, that helps out, because if we just had a question here on YouTube from Mendoza, one of our regular listeners, asking, when are we going to see Demore Tate? But we're not going to see him for a good long while as he's rehabbing. I know Norvell did not give a estimate on when we should see him next, nor the injury that took place for the young defensive back, but we're not going to see him either. So there's a lot of open rooms. I mean, there's a good amount of question marks still in the DB room.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we don't really know the extent of that injury. I don't recall seeing him on Saturday, but I remember when we saw him at the second spring scrimmage, he was kind of on that scooter with his leg and like a soft cast or whatever. But I mean, Miko Dotson as well. We didn't see him the entire spring, and we didn't see him in the spring game as well. So just, you got to hope that those guys can get healthy enough over the next, like I said, 4 months or whatever, until fall camp, so they can get back out there and start participating before the season starts.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's practically everything from the spring game. I love the interview that ESPN had afterwards, because I didn't get to see it till I got home, but the commentator going down the field asking Milton a question and say, how did it feel wearing, maroon and gold for the first time? And he calling her out right off the bat, saying, no, this is garnet and gold. This ain't no maroon. How do you get that wrong as getting paid at ESPN? Do you know, Austin, how you do that?
Question? Maybe they're trying to trick him.
It's ESPN. You expect them to be smart.
Whoa, dang.
Except for Arya. Shout out my guy Arya.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say.
Is he on ESPN?
Yeah, he does their play-by-play for baseball.
Yeah, buddy.
Another thing. How about Mike Norvell addressing the crowd after the scrimmage with that scratchy voice after yelling at Tate Rodemaker forever. He was getting after guys the whole day. I think that was one of the most exciting things for me, because you can really tell how much energy he brings on the field and how focused he is. Like, whenever a guy made a mistake, he was the first one walking up to him to sometimes get in their face, and then sometimes help correct that mistake. Kind of depends on how he was feeling at the moment. But yeah, after the game, like, you could tell, like, he laid it all out on the field.
Yeah, no, his voice, man, and it was hanging on by a thread, by a vocal cord. It was just hanging on very thinly. But
it was funny because I was rewatching the spring game on ACC Network, or that piece of crap. And before the game, they had an interview with him, and he sounded perfectly fine. And I just started laughing because I remember what he sounded like after the game.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But he hyped up the crowd, and he sounded pretty fired up for seeing everybody back in the stands in Doak on September 5th, whenever Notre Dame rolls into town. So he was fired up. And we saw after a few of the spring scrimmages that, there was some times where he wasn't so happy and kind of ticked off. And he said, all right, we're having practice tomorrow. Sorry. But it seemed like he liked the what he saw a little bit. Can't read his mind fully, but maybe with his voice, it sounded like he was kind of happy. Let's jump into some recruiting here It was a big time weekend in Tallahassee. I know you've been in contact with Nico a lot. D-Lou, one of the biggest, if not, him and Hunter, the bell cows of this class. But, they were all meeting up before the game. It seemed like it went successful. It seemed like it might have been really successful. And maybe a few different guys maybe doing some certain things and telling some people some certain things. But run us through that whole experience, because all three of us, were talking with Nico and Travis and got to meet some of these guys that we haven't been able to get in contact with, and seemed like all smiles, good vibes. The weather ended up being beautiful for after the game, so they had plans to go hang out afterwards. I think a few of the guys stayed the whole weekend and even Monday. It was a very successful weekend for Florida State in recruiting, it seemed like.
Yeah, like you said, very good weekend. Before the game, even though the weather wasn't necessarily ideal, I know that Nico and Travis, they kind of helped organize that event up there at the Unconquered statue. And before the game, guys were up there talking with some of the current commits and also getting their pictures taken and things like that. And Rodney Hill, that's actually where he went ahead and publicly committed up there at the Unconquered statue. Then afterwards, it was kind of the same thing. They all reconvened out there, and they were getting a ton of love from the fans. We went up and talked to Nico for probably 20 or so minutes, and it felt like every 10 seconds someone was walking up like, "Hey Nico, can you sign this? Hey Nico, can you take a picture with my kids?" And Travis as well. And I kind of said it earlier this week on the Bat Cave, but you can just tell like those two have the types of personalities that are built for those type of moments. Like they, instead of being, maybe overwhelmed, being 17, probably not even 18 years old yet, having, hundreds of fans walk up to you and ask you for this, ask you for that, you could definitely get overwhelmed in that moment. But they took it on, they relished it. They didn't deny anybody a photo or a conversation. And at the same time, in between those, they were talking to us, they were walking back over to other recruits, talking to them. It was very impressive to watch them at work in person.
Yeah, that was the thing. They're very mature guys. I think a lot of the recruits just like the energy and what Travis Hunter brings to that area. Not only Nico was there, who's a very, very liked, we got to see him in person, very liked recruit and player. But, Travis Hunter just brings a different vibe, man. It's a different kind of energy. I can't really explain it that well, but, going and talking with parents and, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, just like, oh, I got to get a picture with you, man. It's something interesting. And we talked about it leaving the stadium. Like, these recruits usually don't get this kind of experience or this situation, because usually they're going to their gate that they're designated to, and then they're heading to the more, they're getting a tour, and then they're eventually getting out on the field for pregame warmups, and then they're going out from that, then up to the stand. So you don't really have that kind of interaction with fans. And we know Florida State football and FSU Twitter and all of that's very well covered. There's going to be fans that know exactly what the recruit looks like, no matter what age you are. So they were swarmed. It wasn't any shocker whatsoever. I believe Chris Winkie, Heisman winner, was able to just scoot on right through, and then you got Travis Hunter and Nico Marchio just getting bombarded with people. That is saying something. That is saying something right there. Former Heisman winner just sliding right on through. I think Austin had to be like, "Hey Logan, that's Chris Winkie," or that was you.
Yeah, at first Chris Winkie was literally walking like right through everybody, and Dustin was like, "Hey, that's Winkie. Go get him for the podcast." Then Winkie started talking to somebody. I forget who it was. And we were talking to some fan that had walked up. Mm. And finally, Winkie starts walking away. I go, "Logan, get over there.
Go do your job. Go do what you're only good for." But yeah, no, I'm just going back to Hunter and Nico and the recruits being there. This is just an unusual experience, right, D-Lee? They don't usually get this kind of experience.
Absolutely. It was absolutely crazy to watch. Like not only how much attention they got, but yeah, like I said earlier, how they handled that attention in that moment. It felt like they were already football players at Florida State. Sometimes you see guys committed, but at the same time, their recruitments are still open and blah, 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 blah. But, Nico and Travis, it felt like they're already in Tallahassee on campus with the team. Like they just kind of have that vibe of being completely comfortable with Florida State and really trusting in what the coaching staff has told them so far. I mean, man, those kids are two hell of a recruiters. Let me just say that. Like they talk to so many guys out there. And yeah, I don't want to say too much because we've kind of got it floating around the Discord, but there could be some more coming on the horizon.
Yeah, shameless plug here, but just get in the Discord. If you've been thinking about it now for a few months and you like recruiting or you like the inside scoop, and there's a lot of things that we're not probably going to share on here for the podcast. We'd rather share with our Discord and Patreon members that are awesome over there. So if you've been thinking about it, you can do a yearly subscription for only $30. Other sites, $100, $30. You get all the access there.
And I don't think
that's on our Patreon. Patreon.com/Noel Game Day. Dustin's been killing it right now. He's on a roll right now. So get him while he's hot. He's gonna take a break soon. I know it's coming.
Yeah.
And Austin.
But
and
I was
Austin.
just saying,
like, come on.
And Austin, yes. We're not at basketball yet, Austin. I'm gonna give you your own promo too when we get there. Because Austin also had a work trip too. He also had a work trip.
But yeah, just sticking with
ahead.
Nico and Travis, I don't think it wasn't a surprise that they had so many talented, uncommitted guys around them all day, like 4-star running back Damari Alston, 5-star DB Tony Mitchell. I know after the game, like Nico was walking over, he was talking to 2022 offensive tackle Kashawn Sapp, and also 4-star linebacker Jerron Willis. Kanaya Charlton, a really big FSU target. He got to talk with Nico some, and he said that it made him feel even more wanted than he already is right now at this point in his recruitment because he's got commitments coming after him as hard as the coaching staff. He's like that plays a huge factor to me because someone of my own age is like telling me about Florida State and telling me they want to play with me in college. So those guys had a really big impact out there. And I think, people were kind of disappointed that this weekend only resulted in one verbal commitment, but I think more is going to be coming soon.
Like the sound of that. Anything else in here, D-League recruiting wise? I forget which bullet point you're on. Obviously, we talked about Ronnie Hill's commitment, 3-star running back.
Yeah, I guess also, and just speaking about Hill real quickly.
Yeah.
He went ahead and committed up there at the Unconquered statue, made things public, and did so with a video with like telling people he's committed to Florida State while he's posting that announcement on his Instagram or Twitter or whatever. And in the background, you got Travis Hunter and Nico right there, like chopping it up, saying "Go Noles." Some other guys in the background is that as well. So that was a cool moment. And then also the most recent member to join the class today, athlete Brian Courtney, who's going to be playing a tight end H-back role at Florida State. He was also hanging around with that group. He was actually in one of the pictures I took on Twitter, and I didn't even realize it just because I didn't recognize the kid at first. And I was talking to Nico a couple days ago, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, that's Brian Courtney." And I was like, "Oh." And then yesterday when all those CBs came in, I was like, well, he was around Nico and Travis, and that whole day, and whenever I talked to him, he said he had got to hang out with them that night as well. I mean, man, those guys are just insane recruiters.
Yeah, no, that it seemed like a really happy group. No one was really with a smug face. Everyone was hanging out, chatting it up, having a good time. It was just a different kind of feel. I've never been around that kind of thing before.
Oh, and I guess the last thing, I've already, outside of Nico and Rodney Hill this week, I've also gotten a chance to talk to some other FSU commits like Cam Davis, Nigel Kelly, and also Aaron Hester, and they were completely blown away by all the love that they received from fans before the game. They really enjoyed the atmosphere out there in Doak Campbell Stadium. I can't remember who said it, but someone was like, if this is what people are going to do at a spring game with all these restrictions in place, I can't imagine what it's going to be like for a real game in September. So these guys were extremely impressed. And for a guy like Kelly, who who's committed to Florida State, but at the same time, he's still listening to other schools. Getting him on campus this weekend, getting him around the other commitments and the fans, and just having him be in that environment, it went a long way in keeping him kind of locked down, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it seems like there's some kind of momentum going in here. If you agree with me, D-Laz, it just seems like there's some kind of momentum and it's going to last. And
there's a lot of momentum.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about quarterbacks yet with MJ Morris and AJ Duffy being in attendance too, that I think we should note on, because both of these guys, it was Duffy, I know, was planning on trying to announce pretty soon. And I know MJ Morris was on here telling us that he'd like to be done once May's over. So anything that we're hearing on that front with those two talented quarterbacks?
Yeah, I know of Duffy, it really feels like it's down to FSU, Arizona State, and Michigan State. I believe he's supposed to visit Michigan State maybe sometime this month. So we'll see if he decides to make a decision or something like that. After that, he's just kind of he's a teenager, so he doesn't really exactly know what he wants yet. And I completely respect that. And as for MJ, he's going to be taking some visits as well. He came to FSU this weekend. I think he wants to see Nebraska and maybe Georgia Tech one more time before he makes that decision. But, if all goes well in May and that spot is still open because Duffy hasn't committed yet, trying to figure out how I want to say this, feeling confident about him ending up at Florida State. I'll just say that.
On MJ's front?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt he listed Florida State as his leader a while back, and that's why we had him on to kind of discuss his latest with FSU and his relationship with Mike Norvell and Dillingham. And it seemed like he was still really heavily swaying towards Florida State. He wanted to come to the spring game. That was a big thing for him. And with eventually some of these the regulations are going to be lifted, where now these players can go visit these schools, get inside the Moore Center in Tallahassee and visit Mike Norvell and be able to talk in person. Finally, God, it took forever, but this is going to change a lot for a lot of recruits. And I do think Florida State has an advantage here with doing that. I think Mike Norvell is a family man, and this is really going to, if you just listen to Nico Marchio's, if you go back and listen to our podcast last week, it really does feel like, I mean, we got Nico Marchio just talking with Mike Norvell's daughter, spending time with them, talking to his wife, just spending time with them. It just seems like a family man, and Mike Norvell's got it down pat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you kind of said it, but we kind of missed that. The NCAA is going to be finally lifting up that dead period on May 31st. So as of June 1st, prospects will be able to go to campuses and actually be able to talk to college coaches while they're there. And, we already saw Florida State maybe kind of take a little bit of advantage of that by announcing so many different camps already. I feel like it was each weekend in June. They're going to have like a mega camp the first weekend. They've got an offensive OLDL camp where they're actually going to be in pads. A quarterback camp. So Florida State making sure to take advantage of that and get a lot of talent into Tallahassee shortly after that dead period is over.
Anything else before we get to Baxter here? I don't believe so. This was actually live while we're doing this, but Florida State running back commit, I believe, a 2023 class. Cedric Baxter is decommitted from Florida State.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. I didn't know if you saw that. I updated the Google Doc here, but he has decommitted from Florida State.
Really?
Yeah, he said, please respect my decision. Still opening it up. I think it's still very early in his recruitment, so I don't think Florida State's just blown away, gone for maybe this kid, but it seems like he's opening up and might make a different decision. We'll see. But yeah, this was a little breaking while we're live.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to speak with him since his visit, but now I feel like I need to.
Yeah, and I think the thing here is it's so far away. I don't think Florida State, like I was saying, is just out of it completely. He's got a long recruiting road ahead, but not so phenomenal news on a Thursday night.
Yeah. But I will say, there are some really other talented running backs that Florida State currently has their eyes on in the 2023 class. I know Mark Fletcher, who's a pretty highly regarded guy, he did make it into the spring game this weekend. And then 5-star running back Richard Young out of Lehigh Senior High School. He was supposed to make it to the spring game, but he had some car trouble or something like that, and he wasn't able to make it in. But he's a 5-star prospect right now in that 2023 class, and probably going to be one of the top priorities on the board, once they get into that recruiting cycle. I mean, even now, so I'm going to have to catch up with Baxter and see what went down.
Yep, might have to see what the latest is with the old Baxter. Let's see. Let's jump. What'd you say?
Old Baxter.
I know. I felt like so weird saying that. I was just hoping nobody will notice. So we'll see if it gets cut in the recording or not. Let's jump into some of this Apex stuff, man. This was a huge, gigantic announcement. Right? What happened, Austin?
I just love this.
I know, this is crazy. This is huge, not only for football, which topic we're on right now, but this also affects basketball, baseball, soccer, tennis, every sport at Florida State. This is humongous. And so if anybody doesn't know, we'll run through a little bit of it here. Practically, Florida State announced Apex, its program, a multi-tiered program designed to empower student athletes. It's capitalized mainly on their name, their image, even their likeness too. Because of this new legislation, it will help prepare the student athletes for intercollegiate athlete compensation and the rights bill that will take effect on July 1st in Florida. And it helps provide structured support throughout the entire FSU playing careers in Tallahassee. So what I thought was pretty unique about it is that there's also, I think there's 2 classes, if I'm right, Austin, I believe there's 2 classes that are you can get credit for taking too. These student athletes will be able to take this and receive college credit and also learn on being able to grow their brand. This is practically on teaching you on how to grow your brand successfully the right way, how to grow a compensation out of it, bring in income. I think it's a really cool program that we're going to continue to talk about throughout this whole offseason, definitely since it's getting close to July. But definitely suggest going to Seminoles.com to read that. But I think it's also a big deal because social media plays such a gigantic presence right now in the way that we use digital media. And this is going to be a big time game changer. And, you look back at soccer, Dana Castellanos, who played for FSU soccer. What are you saying that I ripped her last name apart, Austin?
Just murdered it.
You say her last name.
Castellanos.
Yes. Okay. Who has a huge, gigantic following, and this thing would have done wonders for her. But she's doing her own thing now across the whole world. But it seems like a really great program that Florida State could take advantage of. While the students are there, but man, boy, does it do really well for recruiting. And Florida State staged it perfectly with their announcement right after the spring game.
Florida State's been so behind as an athletic department for so long. The fact they're jumping out this far in front of the NIL stuff where athletes can benefit off their likeness and their name, their social medias. I mean, we see how many athletes are on TikTok or Instagram or whatever with just huge followings, already verified. For Florida State to jump out, that's already its own brand, and these athletes can benefit off that brand. I think it's huge. I think it's going to do wonders for Florida State, and if some of these other schools in Florida follow suit, it will be big for them as well. But Florida State's really, really jumping out in front of it, and I really, really like it.
Do you like it, Dustin?
Yeah, it's cool. I really like I loved how they promoted it, with that video. That was a really cool video that, like you said, I think you kind of said it, but it showed, I don't want to say her name. So it showed Dana It showed like football, showed other sports, and just the way that they kind of put that out to kind of hype up the Apex and everything. It was really cool, and I think this is just, like Austin said, a big step for Florida State and allowing players to profit off their likeness.
I mean, it's no coincidence that they started the video off with Deion Sanders, who is by all means is definitely his own brand, and they're saying, "Hey, we've had guys do this in the past. You can do it too."
So this influencer, I mean, it's INFLCR software that these student athletes will be using. It'll be practically like an app, a web-based app too, where they can go in and grab footage of whatever gameplay, maybe pictures that the university has taken of them, and they can grab that. It's practically just a gigantic Google Drive folder of under their name, and they can go and grab whatever they want to be able to use that to their advantage to grow their brand and post it on their social medias, any kind of things that they're running for, anything. I think it's a really, really cool experience. I want to do more research on this too, but it seems like there's a lot of smart people behind this. It's also partnered with Florida State's Jim Moran College of Entrepreneurship. So shout out to all my entrepreneurs out there and there. But it seems like a really great experience backed up by a lot of knowledgeable people that are going to help these student athletes do their thing. But, not only that, but man, this gives a huge advantage, gigantic advantage for Florida State and recruiting in Florida.
Quit.
Austin just like ruined my whole, like I was having a speech. I was having such a good speech.
I thought he was saying something important.
I'm sorry. My cat's being stupid.
I thought I was like doing my own promo for it there. I thought it was going to be like commercialized. It was so good, but Austin ruined it with the cat styling.
Yeah, I mean, very important for Florida State to kind of get out ahead of this and announce their own plans for it and how they're going to take advantage of it before a lot of other colleges have done so. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe they were the very first one, if not one of the very first ones, to announce something like this. And the way they've branded it and marketing it so far, it's going to be big for FSU.
Moving on here, another announcement. This was just kind of correlated very beautifully by the Seminoles here in their athletic department. New renderings. We got new renderings. I love renderings. I love just different kinds of revamping different things, locker rooms. I love it. Give me all the time-lapse videos of them doing the construction. Give me some stadium renovations. Give me it all. I want all the renderings. Just hand them to me because I can just post it on Instagram and it's easy, 6,000 likes. This thing looks phenomenal. I mean, it went from where you're just looking like it's going down the side of Stadium Drive there to now we're making an L-shaped form. I don't know if you guys have pictures nearby on you. If not, it's on our IG. But this new football only facility looks phenomenal.
It's not
Trying
bad.
to pull up some pictures.
It's not bad.
Stop
It's
it.
the basketball.
I know you're mad about it, but at least let's pull it up, Dustin. Be like, I need like, oh my god, like kind of reaction because Austin just blew it right there.
I mean, it's definitely nice, and it's a huge improvement over the first renderings. Because the first renderings, it was just those like little 4 buildings in that parking lot, and now that it's this giant complex that stretches onto the practice field. They still get one full practice field. They still get the indoor facility, and they still have a half field that they can use for special teams or whatever. I think it's a huge improvement, and some of the inside pictures look pretty nice.
Yeah, I believe it's like 30,000
square feet. Yeah,
yeah, more than what the first rendering was as well. So it's gotten a little bit bigger, and yeah, getting a chance to look at it, you can kind of see how they've got the weight room set up, like a film room. Kind of like a hot tub or something area, maybe like for training.
Recovery.
So it's gonna be really nice, And I remember back whenever they were doing the stadium renovations, maybe it was the scoreboard. I can't quite remember, but they had like a live stream camera that you could get onto, and like you could watch them be working on it like live 24/7 or whatever. It would be really dope if they do kind of the same thing with the football facility.
That's what they call Big Brother, Dustin, on CBS.
But do you know what I'm talking about? Like, did you ever look at it?
They're allowed.
I never got that board. No.
Hey, maybe I just care more than you guys.
That's what it is.
Dustin watches like whenever
I was in there watching construction workers like bring materials up.
What were you doing?
You're watching cranes move.
Exactly. Like, dude, literally. Someone in the comments has got to remember that. I can't. There's no way I made that up.
Wait, which facility was this? What were they
It was when they were doing stadium renovations. It was either the scoreboard or the Champions Club.
Yeah, it was a Champions Club. I remember that. Yeah, no, I remember that. I checked it maybe once a day. I don't know if I stood there or sat there for an hour like that.
I'm not saying like I pulled it up and was like, all right, that's what I'm doing for the next 8 hours. Like I would just look at it and be like, okay,
put up some popcorn.
Pulled up some popcorn for the day. Just sat there.
Put some music on.
Whoa, there's another 16 seats being put into there. Oh, now, hey, we're at 32.
Oh, wow, that's a gold seat. Look at this.
Oh, there's the hot dog maker.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be there in a few months. Take advantage of that. Oh, man. Yeah. Maybe they will do that. Maybe you're already giving them cool ideas, Dustin. You're giving them the ideas. You are the innovator here.
Well, I know Elliot Feinblum and the rest of the SIDs. I know they're watching right now. I know they're really excited to be checking out Hear the Spear tonight. So yeah, make sure you put up a damn camera.
Yeah, give us some so we can use some content. We promise we will cite Florida State athletics. Promise. We've learned our lessons.
Please don't ban our Twitter.
Again, please, again. Oh Lordy! Before
supply those construction workers with some solid steel-toed shoes. Nothing that's leaning out there.
And some solid meals from our friends at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. They're right. They'd be right down the road too.
Exactly.
They would be right down the road.
What do you think about my shoes on Saturday, Austin? Were they pretty cool?
Okay, let's talk about let's just talk about Saturday. This man shows up in a gray t-shirt, gray shorts, and gray New Balances.
Would it be bad if I'm wearing a gray t-shirt right now?
Yeah, it's expected at this point. And we're like, where's the FSU stuff? He's like, I'm a reporter, not a fan.
Yeah, you said I'm a writer. I don't wear FSU stuff.
Like, shut
You're
up.
not even in the press box. You're in the damn Champions Club.
Yeah, I'm representing
the writers. Oh man, yeah.
I guess I'm just a wannabe, honestly.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure my family was like, "What in the hell is this dweeb wearing?"
That was my first thought when he's walking out into the rain with our parking pass.
I was like, "Who is this?" Sadly, though, Austin, I'm so used to it. This is just the regular Sonny's dinner.
I'm convinced he just has 7 gray shirts and 7 gray shorts. They just
got like 9 gray shirts. 3 of them are like the same damn shirt.
And I'm surprised that you didn't wear slides. I have to give you that. You didn't wear slides.
You think I'm wearing my slides in the rain?
You didn't you on Friday?
No.
I could have sworn you did the lunch on Friday.
I don't think I did.
Oh, goodness gracious. Very, very alarming, though. Very alarming. The things that me and Austin
I couldn't
had to go
believe
through.
it. I was
fitted up.
I had the varsity jacket. I had the new tournament shirt underneath. Wearing my Chicago.
Austin, you had more money on your feet than I have in my bank account right now. So
I also had more money into 2 hips at this point. So,
Yeah, Austin was like making us look pretty weak out there.
I had to show up because I knew we were going to college town after. I didn't want to look like a fool.
I was trying not to stand next to him too much.
I wouldn't stand too close to him anyways.
Didn't want to be overshadowed.
Yeah, overshadowed. Don't even start. That was a bad angle for a picture that we got posted on Twitter.
Oh my God.
Very bad picture. I am obviously tall. And plus I had so many shots, so I usually slouch like that. So I take off about 2 inches off that too. So overall, bad angle.
Here, me and Lois are standing about the same height. Then there's Logan that's like 6 inches shorter.
Don't even start. BS. Don't even start. Sit your ass. You can stay in Charlotte now. Speaking of staying in Charlotte, you just stay in Charlotte now, and let's get the latest of basketball. Florida State's lost another one. Balsa Kofovic. If you were in, I'd obviously just ate up his whole last name, but never mind. I'm not gonna say that. Not gonna be that mean. But he's no longer with Florida State. If you're in the Discord, you would have known about this on Saturday because Austin was working the Nuggets. Another reason to sign in the Patreon. You would have known about this on Saturday. Balsa announces this yesterday, but boom, Florida State loses its big center. Should Florida State fans be freaking out? What's going on? And why do you think he left?
It was a little bit weird. At first I just get a random DM like midway through the day. He's like, Boston's really leaving too? I'm like, what do you mean? No, I haven't heard that. Then that night we're hanging out and someone goes, I'm not going to say who, but he goes, hey, I got something you don't know. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. Say his name. Say his name, who it is, so I can just blast, so we can expose him.
And
he's Leonard Hamilton.
It was Leonard Hamilton. It was.
And he starts out and goes, yeah, Balsh has already left. I'm like, what? I was shocked. I was so surprised because everyone's like, one more season in Tallahassee, this dude's going to be insane. He's one of the most talented bigs we've ever had. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, he's gone. This is weird. Took a couple of days. I put it in the Discord. Everyone's like, nah, you're kidding.
Yep.
I'm like, no, I'm actually not. He's not even in town anymore.
Yeah, we were at the, what were we? Yeah, we were tailgating before it.
Mm-hmm.
And like everybody was like near you talking. I was like, what's going on? Austin's not that popular to be that everybody's swarming over to talk to him. But he dropped a nugget, so then he becomes popular. And I was like, what's going on? And he's like, boss, gone. Said, stop, take the cap off. Take the cap off, Austin. You slid in some drinks there out of the cooler. I know you don't drink alcohol, but I guess you started then. But it ended up being true, man. It's tough.
I was surprised as anyone. Really, I just think he's kind of homesick. I know it's like, oh man, here we go, just making excuses. But he's from Serbia. He's European. He was really close with Dominik Olenichuk last year, and Olenichuk's overseas now. I think he just honestly misses home a little bit. He'd rather go back to Serbia, where they have really good professional basketball development over there. They've got 2 really good teams that are known for putting NBA prospects out. If he wants to go get paid a couple $100,000 while being home, I don't blame a kid for doing that at all.
Mm-hmm. Is Florida State screwed, Dustin?
Yeah, whenever Austin showed me that on Saturday, it blew my mind, dude.
Did you actually drink another sip of your beer because you said it tasted nasty?
I just drank like a full one whenever he showed me that. It was just so disappointing. Because I'm sure we're gonna get to the other guys. Like, I think we've talked about Raekwon maybe last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And him, Balsha, obviously Calhoun as well, Scotty Barnes. We'll see what happens, with MJ kind of here in the next couple of weeks or whatever. But that's a lot of guys for Florida State to be losing. Normally you see a lot of continuity in this program, I feel like, and maybe we're going to see a little bit more departures this offseason than we've seen over the last couple of years. But at the same time, and I'm sure we're going to get to it, hopefully Florida State can hit that transfer market, and they've also got some really good prospects signed to come in.
Yeah, so the first replacement that kind of caught everyone off guard was last night. Rivals put in their version of a crystal ball for Efton Reed, 5-star center playing at IMG Academy. Everyone was like, "Oh, whoa, wait a minute, this isn't supposed to happen." He was supposed to announce today. What I'm guessing, because no one knows anything about this. Anyone that says they know anything about this recruitment is lying. I don't even think his mom knows. The way I'm guessing this is happening is his mom wants him to go to Ohio State because it's close to home and it's actually a good program, unlike Pitt, and he wants to go to Florida State. That's just what I'm guessing. And now that they couldn't come to agreement, they've had to push it back. We don't know when they're going to push it back to, because Efton still hasn't said anything. It's just been his mom saying Efton Reed has delayed his recruitment, and we're still waiting to see what Efton says. Obviously, Florida State was able to get this kid. He's incredibly talented. Just as talented, if not more talented, than the guy that just walked out the door on Balša Krvovića. You get him in, probably starts right away just because our center depth, yeah, we have bodies, but they're not exactly proven.
Mm-hmm.
He could come in, start day one at a really good program, because we had backed off for the longest time just because we got 4 centers plus another 7-footer and John Butler. Why would we need another? Balša walks out that door, goes, "Hey, what's up, Efton? Still want to come to Tallahassee?" And there was a lot of smoke in Florida State's direction, but no one knows anything in this recruitment. It's one of the quietest recruitments I think I've ever seen in a 5-star.
That's what people were saying on Twitter when I was doing some research earlier today, because we were expecting that he was going to make an announcement, at noon today Eastern time?
That's what we had heard. But like the time wasn't even confirmed. Like someone had told us noon, but no one actually knew it. The fact we couldn't even get a commitment time or a top 5 or anything like that was really, really strange.
Yeah. Like that, it's just one of those interesting, like very quiet, and it came out of nowhere, right, Austin? You weren't having him on your radar of any sorts whatsoever.
Because I just assumed, he's announcing Thursday. We just saw Ball Show. There's no way in 2 days we're gonna go get a 5-star. But sure enough, we're right in that mix.
Isn't that crazy?
This morning, Tipton Edits, who, if anybody would know, it's them, just because they make all the edit commitments or commitment edits. He said it was Pittsburgh, Florida State, Ohio State, LSU, and Virginia. It seems Virginia's out of it, just from, no one's really saying it. LSU, LSU is going to do LSU things. If Florida State has the opportunity to start, he's going to choose that over Pitt. That's just my opinion. So to me, it's a Florida State, Ohio State recruitment. We'll see what happens in these couple of days.
Yeah, do you think it's something that happens by the end of next week kind of dealio? Or is it just like all speculations?
The signing period just started for basketball, but most of the kids have already been signed and committed from December. So there's not the same, talk about all these high value recruits that are just not choosing places. There's really only like 5 or 6 5-stars that haven't decided where they're going.
Something to keep an eye out. Anything else related to basketball? I need NBA Knowles doing its thing. I see Terrence Mann is still rolling for the Clippers.
Well, I guess we could talk about a couple other potential transfers that we're after.
Oh, yeah.
Keep an eye out on Cameron Fletcher from Kentucky. I've had multiple people tell me that one's extremely likely, and I even put in my prediction in the Discord. If it wasn't last night, it was 2 days ago.
Hey, you got to market the Discord, bro. Don't give them too much.
Yeah, I put in my prediction a couple days ago. I really like what I'm hearing on that front. I'm expecting news any day now on him. And then there's a lot of smoke surrounding Trey Mitchell, the center from UMass. Nothing quite as strong as with Cam Fletcher. There's a lot of teams after Trey Mitchell because he's one of the 5 or 10 best players on the market right now. Averaged 18 and 7, shot 35% for 3. Really, really good player. He's 6'9", 230, can run the 4 or the 5. Really athletic. He's a guy that could slide in perfectly for Florida State. Even if they get Efton Reed, I think he could still be a take. But there's so many different teams after Trey Mitchell. I've seen Georgetown. I've seen Indiana, UNC. You name it, I've seen Trey Mitchell rumored to go there. I imagine he might extend his recruitment out a little bit just because, he's a former top 100 prospect. He's a little bit used to this, but this time all the big schools are after him. Really, those are the ones to keep an eye on. I found out we had offered David Collins from USF, but he just had a visit with Kansas. And that's pretty much the only transfers we have an eye on right now. We were after Parker Fox, that D2 guy. He just committed to Minnesota while we were on the podcast.
Was that expected?
Yeah, to me it was down to them or San Diego State, but he's from Minnesota. It just made a ton of sense. If I had put in a prediction, it would have been Minnesota. Depending on the fan you talk to, they didn't want him because he's a D2 guy. I think he's super talented. At any level, scoring 23 points isn't easy.
You listening to shows called Fanny Talk?
No.
What?
I heard Fanny Talk.
Fanny Talk?
I thought I heard Austin say Fanny Talk.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'll be interested to go back and listen to this recording if I didn't hear Fanny Talk. Unless I'm going crazy. Unless I just hit a meth pipe.
I think you're going crazy.
Why would he have said that?
I don't if you're listening to some show or whatever, like Fanny Talk. I don't know. I must be going crazy. I'm gonna go back and listen to the recording.
Listen to fans talk.
Oh.
Wow.
I don't know what you listen to, Austin. After
I don't know what you're listening to either.
Yeah.
Well, I'm asking him. I mean, I would like to be sent. Like, maybe I'll try out the podcast. It sounds like it'd be pretty interesting.
No, you wouldn't. Shut up. Don't lie. It's not a podcast where we lie.
Well, anything to do with fannies, I'll listen to. Anyways, let's move on from this, or keep going. I just thought I heard fanny talk, but I guess it's fans talk.
I know Dustin mentioned MJ Walker a little bit ago. Surprisingly, he's really considering coming back to school. I don't think anybody expected that. Him and Polite went to New Smyrna Beach, then Orlando, and now he's back in Tallahassee, just thinking things over. If he comes back, that's a huge addition, especially with the staff attacking the offseason like they're expecting Sadar Calhoun to leave. You bring him back, you get a veteran guard. He wouldn't be relied upon to make as much next season with, Caleb Mills, Jalen Worley, even Raekwon Evans is nothing about coming back. I think that'd be huge for Florida State next season, especially if he's healthy. We saw how good he can be healthy this past season. From the beginning of the season to mid-January, he was 15, 16 points a game, then got hurt and wasn't the same player, and you could tell. He comes back, Florida State's right back in that picture next season as one of the best teams in the country, plus adding in Efton Reed or Cameron Fletcher or Trey Mitchell or any combination of the three.
Yeah, and like you said, like the latest with MJ Walker, that would be shared inside of the Discord. So if you guys haven't signed up, Austin dropped literally a gigantic amount.
So much stuff.
A gigantic amount.
It was an entire meal of nuggets.
Yeah, you're full, and then you get dessert, but then you get handed another 12 count of nuggets from Chick-fil-A. Like, it's just too many nuggets to almost digest. But the latest with MJ Walker, that will be shared with our Discord people first. And like we just talked about the Boston news, Austin gets that kind of info days and days and days in advance. So
no one else had that Boston info. I can guarantee that.
No, they did not. And Discord people had it first before everybody. So if you've been thinking about signing up, like I said earlier, it's not just only football, but Austin does a fantastic job in covering that and getting the inside scoop. So that's patreon.com/NoleGameDay. And there's different tiers that you can pick from. And there's even a yearly subscription service offer that you can do and save 16%. So definitely suggest people sign up, or it's going to be a very boring offseason. I think that's going to be my slogan. It's going to be you're just going to have a really boring offseason.
It's no game day or no day. Or wait.
No game day or no game day. Come on, man. What are you doing? what we got going on?
Botched it.
Oh, I gotta. Oh man.
Good Lord.
Let's answer some of these. We got a little bit of time here. I want to answer some of these questions from YouTube real quick. I've seen a few of these. Shout out to Mendoza talking about Parchment, telling us to talk about Parchment working out with Dalvin. I saw a picture earlier today. They were getting some work in, potential Florida State's #1 wide receiver, working with the GOAT Cook down in Miami. They've actually been putting in quite a bit of work together from what I've been seeing this offseason. And then we also got a question here on the latest from Chuba. A lot of comments about Chuba. A lot of comments. So me and Dustin were at both the scrimmages, because I've said that 60,000 times on this podcast already. But we haven't seen him at those at all. We also did not see him at the spring game. Florida State and Mike Norvell, they're expecting to have him ready for summer workouts, which is some great news. I believe he's still focusing on rehabbing. So
yeah, that kind of says it all.
Yep.
Hopefully it's full go in the summer, and he can get back acclimated with everything and be ready to compete in the fall.
Yeah, and we dropped a few things on that Chuba Purdy situation inside the Discord, so another reason to jump in there. But it's an interesting situation, but I think things are gonna be fine on that route for him, the young quarterback. What's the ceiling? This is from Jake Hood. What's the ceiling for wide receiver youngin Malik McLean? Dustin, what do you think the ceiling is for him? And it's really early to tell that right now. We haven't even got to see him play in a real football game yet, but I think that ceiling, from what I can take from and watching him the last month or so compete and getting all that playing time, the sky is the limit for this kid, man. The ceiling's very high. He came in worked his tail off. He's put on some pounds. He still hasn't even hit the summer workouts where a lot of these guys really put on some good weight and getting in better condition to be playing that many snaps already in those open scrimmages like that and be impressing. And also, there was one ball that he had dropped during the second scrimmage where in the end zone, I think he got up and, there wasn't a lot of, head down kind of situation, got back up and ran back and played the next snap. But I think there's a very high ceiling for this young wide receiver. And it's really great to hear because you know what? Florida State was really trying to stick with this kid to land him. This is a very talented wide receiver. I think the sky's the limit for this kid. I like his work ethic. I like guys like that, man. If you got a good work ethic, you're going to do very well in whatever sport you play.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at a text message from Nate. Yeah, I mean, like you said, coming in to Florida State in January, already a lot to like. Already a lot to like from Malik McClain and, how he's just hit the ground running, it felt like during these spring practices. So, I definitely see him as an impact freshman type of guy. I don't know, maybe this is a weird comparison, but, a 6'4" wide receiver who has that verticality to go up in traffic, over DBs, come down with tough catches, kind of maybe reminds me of like a Greg Carr, Rodney Smith type of guy to compare him to, some former FSU players with maybe just a little bit more speed at this point. And I think the big thing for him is really just polishing that route running. I think he could take some tips from maybe Josh Burrell or a couple other guys that are currently on the roster. But yeah, I mean, you kind of said it. Sky is the limit. If he keeps working, keeps improving, he could turn into a real stud at Florida State. It wouldn't surprise me at all. He's got all the tools, all the intangibles. He's got the stuff that you can't teach a wide receiver. He's already got that. So you get him to become a good or elite route runner, I can't even imagine what he'll be doing, 2-3 years down the road.
I think that's everything. One last question here from Mendoza asking, what's the word on Emmett Rice? From things that we're hearing, it's also in the Discord, but basically I think there was a lot of rumors that the very severe knee injury, which would take him out of this upcoming season. I think they're still trying to figure it out. I think if that would have been the case, we would have seen that he would already had surgery to try to get that recovery going really quickly. I think it ended up not being so severe of a knee injury. We got to see him walking around, at least in the spring scrimmages, in the second spring scrimmage, without a brace or any kind of wrap around. So
he just had like a slight limp back then.
I think there's a lot of optimism there for Rice. We'll see what happens during this next few weeks. I'm sure we'd hear something, but
yeah, I mean,
I think there's optimism.
You compare maybe his situation walking around on the sideline with a limp, without a brace or crutches or anything, to maybe a guy like Demore Tate, who we've actually seen, getting around on a scooter with a cast on his leg, or even Thomas Schrader, who we saw on Saturday, using crutches to get around. That makes you feel a little more optimistic about the outlook of his injury, even though, we don't know what it is beyond a lower body injury.
I think too, you remember when we were there, Dustin Brownlee had an even worse limp. Like, this man had to grab his leg almost and bring it to him to make the next step. Brownlee had a gigantic one, and then we got to see him compete in the spring game. So we're hoping, I think there's some optimism there that Florida State's going to bring back its veteran linebacker and be safe of that. So it's something to keep an eye on, because Florida State and Chris Marv would definitely like to have that guy back after finishing off the season very smooth, and he looked well, and I think Florida State hopefully is feeling optimism on number one's front there on defense. Before we end it off, I want to give a shout out to also like Kenny Shaw, man. He's got a gigantic camp coming up this weekend. He was on here a few weeks ago detailing us on that. It's his very first camp, and it's absolutely loaded. I'm so happy for him. He's such a great guy, and he's been on Here the Spear multiple times, and nothing much love. Nothing. I don't even know how to say it. Nothing more love. I sound like I'm drunk now. Sound
Nothing
like how
but
I was.
love.
Nothing
maybe.
but love. I sound like I'm drunk like I was on Saturday night. I'm just glad you didn't take any videos, Austin. I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
I don't think you're getting that drunk again. That was impressive.
That was impressive.
You'll see on this. You'll see some stuff from this Saturday night.
No, I'm not. No, but yeah, me and Dustin. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the thing with Saturday night is by about 10 o'clock, I started hanging with, like with Los, and there's a couple other athletes there. I look over and Logan's not even. He's somewhere else. I was like, I'll just stay over here and talk to these guys.
I think Logan talked to like every single girl in Township.
That's
He
completely
was just
wrong.
making his way around.
Yeah,
That's completely wrong. Completely
it's
wrong.
not. You at least got 60%.
Damn it. I need to get it better. I got to get up to 75 next time. But anyways, me and D-Lou will be heading down to Orlando tomorrow. We'll be driving together. We're staying in a hotel. I can't wait for all of the messages to go through this weekend that we're staying in the same hotel together, but we will be staying in separate beds. I might even put like a curtain down in between them.
You're the one that's making it really weird.
I'm not. I just know how people are on our Discord and on Twitter. They're going to make it even worse. It's going to be a interesting weekend. But no, we're excited. There's Jameis Winston, Dak Prescott, Telvin Smith. I believe Jalen Ramsey is going to be in attendance. I'm like kind of speculating here. I think he is. Also, Terrence Brooks. Devontae Freeman, Karlos Williams. Los will be down there too.
Timmy Jernigan.
Oh, Timmy Jernigan, my man.
Kelvin Benjamin, like all kinds of former Seminoles are going to be out there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to get a look at all those guys on Saturday, and also hopefully secure a few for the podcast to bring back to all our viewers here. I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah, that's the goal. First off, we'll be helping out Kenny Shaw cover. So if you guys haven't yet, go follow our Instagram at Null Game Day. I have a ton of cool ideas. Me and Kenny have been talking, but we're gonna do some live streams on there. Kenny's gonna be answering questions. We might give the phone off to Jameis or Timmy Jernigan. I'll give it to Timmy Jernigan. But we're gonna have them answer some questions. We'll be having tons of coverage there, and a lot of that's gonna be on our Instagram and also Twitter. So it's gonna be a phenomenal weekend. They're Kenny and Los were talking about it. That's going to be a reunion for a lot of these 2013 guys, because if you think about it, they don't get to see each other like this a lot. So seems like everybody's traveling into Orlando starting tomorrow, and really excited to be there to cover it. And like D-Lou said, we're really going to try to network and try to bring a lot of these guys that we've been working on, trying to get on here for years now, get onto the show so we can have some good off-season content for you guys. So it's going to be a fun weekend that's happening on Saturday all throughout the day. So going to be awesome. I'm excited.
This is why you don't miss Hear the Spear.
That's right.
Because we got ourselves another Heisman winner this past Saturday. We're going to go talk to another one in a couple days. And, we secure both of those. You'll have had all three Florida State Heismans, all three quarterbacks that led Florida State to the national championship right here on Hear the Spear. So,
yep.
Don't forget to tune in every Thursday night.
That's right. We're going to try it. We're going to try it. We've had things with Jameis before, but this weekend feels a little bit different. I think things are going to click well. It's going to be. I'm so happy for Kenny. I can't wait to help cover it and get some things out there because he's such a great guy and he's really good at what he does with training kids. So the shirts look awesome. I'm just ready to get down there. But yeah, definitely appreciate everybody listening. You guys are awesome. Definitely appreciate you. We had over 10,000 listens on our last episode, which is just ridiculously nuts. But we definitely appreciate y'all listening always. And we hope y'all have a fantastic weekend. We'll be back on here next week, Thursday at 8:30 p.m. If you're on iTunes or Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, hit that subscribe button. But yeah, get ready for some content this weekend. It's going to be interesting. I don't know what's about to happen, but it should be fun. I'm just not getting as drunk like I did last weekend. It just can't happen again. I can't do it. All right, guys. Everybody be good, and we will see you guys next week on Hear the Spear. Appreciate you.
Not the silk word, 17.5, same color Got the